Bitcoin is still not showing promise of even going higher. And in this live stream today, we're going to be focusing on critical targets that Bitcoin needs to hold and get to solidify the idea that Bitcoin could move back up. Welcome to today's live stream, ladies and gentlemen. It's the New York flavor. So if you are new to the channel, hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe for more of these live streams moving forward. And we go live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So what's the flavor? Bitcoin is currently holding that 28,000 zone. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at specific areas in the chart that are going to suggest if Bitcoin breaks this range to the downside or to the upside, what's the impact going to be across the board? So let's get with the flavor, guys. Check it. Nah, that sounded so bad. Anyways, in front of you, we have a few zones in the chart with Bitcoin right now, and we've kind of got this sideways price action. Why? Well, we've got news coming out very shortly, which is the JOLTS job openings. All right. Now, news is always coming out, which is going to impact the US dollar. And we know that Bitcoin is brought against the US dollar. OK, the JOLTS job openings projecting for 9.74 million job openings. OK, now a figure more than that is going to be a problem for the Fed because it kind of gives us the heads up that maybe inflation is going to keep on being sticky because more people are going to be able to get access to work. But if it shows a decrease and there's less jobs being available, it means that companies are retaining onto the existing employees that they have, and they're not looking at increasing the workforce. Now, that can be a good thing, and it can also be a bad thing. Great for the shareholders because that means less money is being spent on new people. At the same time, it might cause a little bit of a problem for the employment market because if there's jobs not being offered, then that means more people are going to claim benefit. So the unemployment claims are going to start moving up. Okay. Now, going back into the chart itself, face value. We currently have Bitcoin looking like it's coming away from a specific structure. Now, this is an M formation where price makes a move up, consolidates back down, traps the traders into buying the dip, gives them the success of a move higher for them to only roll it back down again. This is what we would call an FTD zone, where the dealer fools the trader into believing that Bitcoin is about to break out and move higher. He traps the traders and then brings price back down again. Now, these are the zones that Bitcoin really needs to show a promise on if it can hold this range. Because right now, if you zoom out, you can see that Bitcoin is doing a good job of holding inside of this zone. Okay, you can see this area, and it looks like an area of interest. But further down, we've got this massive imbalance in the chart. More importantly, we've got also areas right here that Bitcoin could come and attack. So what are traders doing? What are they seeking? Are they favoring higher prices or lower prices? But when we zoom out, Bitcoin realistically hasn't gone anywhere. This is a day trader's heaven. Okay, so he can exploit price to the upside, to the downside, and the logic says that if this M formation comes into play, we're going to be expecting more lower movements. Okay, now, given that being said, the news that's going to come out is going to trigger some volatility, and that's what we've got to be careful of. If we get the volatility and it suggests that investors are still seeking the safety of the dollar, then dollar's going to go up, Bitcoin's going to go down. Now, this is a basic chart that we're looking at right now to make things a little bit clearer for us, okay? One zone right here at 28,480 is what we would understand to be a vector candle region when we look at the hybrid system. But you can see further down here, there is an imbalance. And down here is where traders are going to get trapped. Because right now, market maker's playing the psychological game with everyone. He's trying to make everyone believe that this is a zone where you can go short from. The logic would suggest that Mr. Market Maker would want to send price towards that zone to get and take advantage of traders inside of this zone. Now we bring up the hybrid system, we see things a little bit differently. Same chart, zoom out. Now we've got our levels on the hybrid system. Now we can see Bitcoin is trading below the 50 EMA cloud. It's trading below the 800 EMA moving average, which is this blue line right here. So the logic would say that if Bitcoin can't get above the 50 EMA cloud, then the momentum is still favoring lower prices. This is the cloud. You see this? And the cloud is quite simply Bollinger Bands and the 50 EMA. Now, how it behaves inside this cloud gives us a little bit of a clue as to what we can expect moving forward from Bitcoin. All right? As it stands right now, there's been a little bit of rejection and price is stalling around the daily open. Okay? Now, in order to understand what Bitcoin's doing, now remember, Bitcoin usually moves after all the other assets move. And how can we determine Bitcoin's future volatility? Well, if we go down to the dominance of the dollar, because remember, you need to exchange dollars to buy Bitcoin. But what if the opposite is happening right now? What if people are getting rid of Bitcoin to exchange back to dollars? From the Wall Street perspective, look at the dollar dominance chart. It's starting to move higher. Okay, we look left and we can see we've got a region of a red vector candle zone right here. And the 800 EMA is coming closer and closer to being a point that the dominance of the dollar could actually pick up more momentum from this point and shoot even further up. So close towards that 102 mark. Now, with that being said, if the dominance of the dollar keeps on going, Bitcoin's going to have a hard time moving up. Okay. The only way that we can verify Bitcoin's move to the upside is if we can see it break above this cloud right here, which would be the last point in the vector zones. You see this red vector candle? This is where market maker went long from. So logically, we would assume that if Bitcoin can hold in this zone and move above the cloud zone right here, we would expect him to come and attack the liquidity inside of this region right here. But if we're not seeing that happening, then we can only get the bias that price is going to be going lower. Going into the higher time frames, go to the daily, we see Bitcoin again flirting with this zone. Remember what we said last night, the 800 EMA and the 50 EMA on the daily time frame. It's a very important zone for Bitcoin. So all of you, mark off 26,000. We're going to mark it off together. 27,634. That is a very important point for Bitcoin because that is where market maker knows he can grab interest. Just look at all these wicks. You see these wicks? These are not price rejections. These are points in the chart where people place orders, whether it's limit buys or limit sells, and they are, or limit stop limits, and they are either going to get filled, get liquidated, and inside of this zone is where market maker can really grab traders' interest because there's no other reason why you're going to go long or short unless you are given a reason to do so. And that is what this zone is effectively in Bitcoin. Now, you can see we haven't seen that much activity in Bitcoin going into the past 24 hours or so. Okay, well, yesterday they dropped down. And then, of course, today we've just got this sideways price action. But that's consistent with the movement or the anticipation of news announcements coming in very shortly. Okay, going into the high block itself. This is where the liquidation zones sit on Bitcoin. You can see all the way up here, we've got 30,350 with $4.4 billion worth of short liquidations. So the logic says that there are a lot more people trying to run for shorts right now. And that's quite a far distance away, given that Bitcoin right now is in and around the 27 zone. And we've got the 30K 3,300 zone right there. It's going to take a little while for Bitcoin to spike up towards that zone. That means it will take us all the way up towards this region right here, okay, where they'll be coming back into this vector candle zone in the chart, all right? So look, this is an area here, just to the tip of this point right here. This gap right here is a point where market maker can realize a return on his investment, okay? But what we've got to be mindful of is the general theme right now is dollar dominance. It's the same for all assets across the board. So if I bring up Bitcoin right here, we're seeing a recovery right there. We go into the 15-minute time frame. What are we seeing? This is now on the smaller time frame. So now we've had a rejection in this area. So they've just taken out all the guys who've been running shorts inside of this zone. But we've got a little bit of a clue right here. This could be a point that they come back into. So for my day traders, you want to be keeping an eye out on this zone right here. The faster they recover this area and not gain ground, the more likely it's just going to be a stop run to bring price back down again. Looking lower, you can see that we've got a stopping volume candle right there. That's important because it's, again, a point in the chart where market maker was able to trap traders into a short and then instantly reverse it. These stopping volume candles are usually reversals. Now, when you start seeing a collective of them coming about, it kind of gives us the heads up that something could be changing. So we want to be focusing exclusively on this zone. The daily open right now is very important for Bitcoin because it's psychologically making people believe that price could actually trade positive. You're not going to buy when it's negative, okay? That's what retail trader thinks. Oh, it's dropping, I need to sell. So then that's where they start going short. When price gets positive, that's when people are encouraged to buy, all right? So right now we're sat inside of this zone right here, and Bitcoin is at a turning point to either take the levels to the downside or to the upside. As we go further and further into the smaller timeframes, we're going to get an idea of how Bitcoin's momentum is developing to the upside or to the downside. Right now, what have we got? We've got price flat at the moving averages. You can see the 50 EMA right there, the 200 EMA, nothing much is happening. And that's obviously because news is coming out very shortly, which is the JOLTS job openings. Once that bad boy comes out, then we'll probably see the volatility in the charts, okay? Now, with that being said, let's quickly go over to Ethereum. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I hope you're all doing well today. All right, then. Cool. Ethereum doing the same thing. You can see what kind of marketplace we're in right now. It's horrible. Look at this. Spiky behavior. Up and down, up and down. I'm not really getting the flavor of a momentous move. The momentum is building. Remember the elastic band. You pull an elastic band, it's getting tougher and tougher. You let go either side, then you're going to get the direction. That's what's happening right now. There is a contraction. Problem that I've got is Ethereum has a price point, which is a big area of interest. Look at this zone right here. Now, for Bitcoin, we don't have it. But for Ethereum, we do, which is the 1,811 zone. If we go over to the Bookmap to work out Bitcoin's liquidity, we zoom out on the Bookmap and we can see that we have got some interest coming in. Now, this is important because they did this to us last week, okay? Last week, there were two zones in the chart where there was heavy liquidity. You can see right here, we've got 1,076 Bitcoin orders at 28,450. So what's at that point? We've got sell orders, okay? Cool. So just remember, 28,450. Now we go into the high block. Where's 28,450? So we go into the chart itself and try and find that area of liquidity. 28,450, we zoom in. 28.4 takes us towards this zone right here. That's 28.3, just slightly above it. Bang, there you go, 28,450. We've got $249 million worth of short liquidations. So this is where we come to an understanding and say, okay, how likely can Bitcoin, this is like a trade opportunity. How likely can Bitcoin or Ethereum, okay, make a move towards a specific zone, all right? So we'll just go back to Bitcoin for a second. 28,450 takes us towards this area, which happens to be the vector candle zone. So I'll go back into Bitcoin for a second. Hold on. Got you guys going all over the place. 28,450 takes us towards this region right here, which happens to be a vector candle region right here. Now, this is on the 5-minute time frame. We go into higher time frames. We're going to see some vectors inside of that zone. Here you go, right there. There's your vector region inside of this area, okay? Now, that's an area of interest. But does it mean that it's going to go there just by the principle of the Bookmap? Not necessarily, because when we zoom out, you can see we got more interest down below. And the principle says that inside of this zone right here, this is where traders are going to start getting committed. Now, Bitcoin is trading above the VWAP. Now, if we zoom in, you can see this little white line right here. That's the VWAP. Now, what are they doing? They seem to be holding above the VWAP. So VWAP tells us that institutional investors like to sell above that point and they like to buy below it. So we haven't had volatility yet. What is it suggesting to us? It's telling us that there is going to be a move happening. And just by understanding how price is behaving around the VWAP, it's going to give us a heads up on how likely Bitcoin is going to drop. Because if they're holding above the VWAP but not going up, we're kind of getting an idea that they could actually be preparing to roll over. The news announcements is going to establish that. If the news is favorable for the dollar, dollar goes up, Bitcoin goes down. So again, you're at this coin toss right now. If we didn't have news announcements, then all we'd be waiting for is Bitcoin to start moving up or down based on the move that it's been developing from Asia. So if Asia starts, and this is the Asian session over here, if Asia started to move price up, then we would expect the US session, followed by the UK session, to do the same thing. But because we got news coming out, it's going to have an impact on price. But more importantly, ladies and gentlemen, the marketplace itself is waiting for tomorrow's FOMC statement. So if you are new, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you get notified about me going live during that time, because that time is when we start spitting the fire, fast price talking, and just watching the levels in Bitcoin get taken, okay? Now, I just want to quickly go over to this platform right here and have a look at some altcoins, because I don't want to keep you guys too long today. We've got 4 minutes until the market actually opens. Then after this live, I'm going to be going over to a private live stream with the patrons of the channel just to break down some projections. So if you ain't seen that or been part of it, go check it out. It's pinned to the top of the chat if you want to get access to that. Now, in front of us, unusual volume on altcoins. We've got auction. We've got RAD, TOMO, BEPE, token, that madness, but auction seems to be the asset that's making the moves right now. Okay, so let's just go over to auction and have a look at what's going on with that. Auction USDT. It's on BitGet on spot, and you can see we've just had a big, bold move by this bad boy, okay? Now, usually what happens, there's a lot of people selling this token right now as it's pumped, but unfortunately, people are buying it because they're last to get the information. Remember what we said last night about the BEPE token, all right? You've got early adopters are right here. The guys who've heard about it, friend of a friend saying, yo, get onto this bad boy. He's got in on there. And then you've got, in principle, Twitter right there. That's all, you know, retail traders as such. The logic is there, okay? And that's why you see it move aggressively up to only come back down again, all right? Another altcoin that's making, in essence, some bigger moves. Where was it? Let's go into decent priced altcoin. Let's go to TOMO. Let's have a look at TOMO for a second. And I'm just looking, for me, it's not about caring about what the coin does. I'm just looking for volatility. I'm looking for the flavor. How can I exploit it? So TOMO looks like it's dropping down aggressively. And we've got vector candle regions right here that price could be going into. Okay, so this is an area of interest in TOMO. So it looks like a liquidity run. They're just coming down and just following through. And the volume is picking up non-stop. Pepe. All right, I get it wrong. So what, man? It's going to disappear soon anyway. So take what you can from that bad boy. BRISE. Let's get this correct. USDT. Here we go. I'm not seeing it. You go spot. It's on spot right now. Quiet. And I mean, I'm not too keen on the way. But then again, volume itself. It's lightly traded on BitGet. So it's taking a nosedive. People will look at this and think, yeah, it's an opportunity to run along on this. But just be careful because it's a very cheap coin, all right? And it's prone to volatility. And you want to stay away from altcoins that do this sort of behavior. You want to stick to higher market cap altcoins, okay? Now, if I just go over look at Bitcoin's unusual volume, you can see Ethereum 10x volume change on the 3-minute time frame. So if I just go back into Ethereum for a second, where we're seeing that volume coming into play. Here we go. Ethereum, again, staying sideways. Quite frankly, it's going to stay sideways until the markets open in the next 1 minute's time. So we're going to be keeping an eye out on that bad boy. Let me just have a look at the dominance of the dollar right there. Let's see how that's faring. Dollar is still holding out. The market will open in the next 30 seconds. And then that's going to be giving us a heads up on where we can expect everything to move across the board. Let's have a look at Euro. Euro's breaking down. We're getting ready to see some very interesting points in Euro. So keep an eye out on Euro, guys. But back into Bitcoin, starting to make some movements right now. So as long as they stay below the cloud, that kind of gives us a heads up of the narrative. They're coming away from the VWAP. We got liquidity at 27,500, which is 828 Bitcoin orders. So I want to try and see if they can come away from that. I want to see this area right here. You see this area? This area is the battle, okay? Now, if Bitcoin comes back into this area, 27,500, that's where the same guys over here on the left side had previously placed orders, okay, are going to start kicking in and then start showing support. So we're at a very important point right now. So markets are now open. So I'm not seeing the book is showing a limb balance of 30% limit buy. So that would suggest lower prices. If we zoom in and have a look at that, we can see it's starting to come down. It's breaking away from the VWAP ever so slightly. We've got commitment coming in at this point right now. So I just need to see, here we go, Bitcoin breaking down away from the daily open. That's not a good sign. We're starting to now see Bitcoin in principle trying to work away from the actual 50 EMA on the 5-minute time frame, but still not really got the movement that I want to see them do. We might just not get that much flavor in the charts, ladies and gentlemen, until it actually reveals the news announcement. So we've got to be careful of that. Going into MATIC, I saw MATIC make a move. Here we go. MATIC's moving again, but it's sideways. Again, we've got this green vector candle region on MATIC, so you want to be careful of this area because they stay below the daily open, stay below the 50 EMA on the 5-minute time frame. The momentum is suggesting that it's trying to come down lower, okay? Go to higher time frames on MATIC. You can see that it's starting to pick up. It's shown price rejections for the guys that went short in this area, and they're getting shaken out. That's what you're witnessing right here. But then again, you've got this area which they could get them to go short again. Because remember, everyone thinks everything's going to drop. Give them a reason to go short, which gives them another reason to reverse price back up again. All right? Let me just quickly go into the S&P and NASDAQ, because we know that the S&P itself kind of leads Bitcoin to a specific area. If Bitcoin goes down and S&P goes down, everything's going down. But if S&P goes up, Bitcoin usually follows suit because it means money's coming back into assets. People are a little bit more risk savory. They want to take on a little bit of risk. They're going to start seeing prices of Bitcoin moving up. But now S&P is going down, coming back into a vector candle region right here, which we don't even need. I've got the vector candles bars right there. There you go. So it's working a vector candle zone right here, and it looks like it's picking up a bit of speed. That's on the 1 hour time frame, and we are then seeing Bitcoin probably doing the same thing. Bit of a sharp rejection right there. Is it going to go towards that 27.5 zone? That could be a point of interest in my opinion. That's where the only next logical point in the chart for Bitcoin to start making a move. Now, look, you can see, look, big orders are coming in at this point right now. There is a lot of engagement happening right now in this zone. They've added at 27,510. We've got 808 Bitcoin orders. If they invalidate this VWAP, then we would understand that Bitcoin's being sold above the VWAP to market lower. That's what we're looking for, okay? And as long as the imbalance at the top there, it says 19% plus 18%, that tells us that the volume, or should I say, the power between buyers and sellers is showing an imbalance in the book favoring limit buys. So that means lower prices are anticipated, or interest is favoring lower prices, because that's where people are prepared to buy. Remember, limit buys, limit sells. If you take the order flow concept on hitting the bids and lifting the ask, when the bids are being hit, it means that people are passively buying and aggressively selling. At the same token, you have got passive aggressive buyers. When they're lifting the ask, aggressive buyers are coming in, but passive sellers are selling slowly as it's moving up, okay? Right now, we're witnessing that move coming into play, where the bids are effectively being hit, but not much is happening, okay? Now, going into 3 o'clock, ladies and gentlemen, I did say I'm going to keep this live short and sweet, but moving forward, wait until the news announcements comes out at 3 o'clock. GMT, which is 10 a.m. Eastern Standard. What we're looking for is the dominance of the dollar. If the dollar dominance keeps maintaining its move to the upside, then that means assets across the board are going to be going lower, all right? Now, usually what I tell the patrons is to pay attention to the S&P, because usually when the S&P goes down, Euro likes to move up, okay? But see, it's starting to move up ever so slightly here. But what's going on is investors need to sell their stock. So if you've got stock in the S&P, you need to sell that and it goes into cash. That improves the dollar, all right? But if investors are selling Euro stock, where are they going to be putting their safety? The common practice is the dollar, okay? Because if they keep it in the euro, well, there's more dollars being brought and sold than there is euro, given that euro is one of the largest foreign exchange pairs that are traded. But everyone always seeks the safety of the dollar, okay? And you can see that when you go over to the yields and the bonds. Right now, the bonds are doing okay. Well, it's actually dropping down, okay? And the yields are probably trying to climb up. Now, if the yields climb up, that means the government is trying to advertise the rate of return if you give them the cash. And now at 4.135%, that's a bit of a problem for us because the 10-year itself is cheaper than the 2-year. That's a yield inversion. So there's already a problem economically with the flow of money. All right? So again, finalizing it all for you, ladies and gentlemen, we've got Bitcoin still holding out. The volatility is going to come into play once the news comes out. Remember, as long as price stays below the 50 EMA on the 1 hour time frame, then we are expecting prices to develop momentum to go lower. They can invalidate this cloud, then they'd be working towards this point right here. Remember, don't force a trade on. Get yourself a reason to believe that they are likely to continue with what they're trying to achieve. In other words, if they're not going lower, that must mean that they're preparing to move up. But if they're not going up, it must mean that they're preparing to go lower, which tells us by the means of a moving average, okay, the liquidity that's close by, the way that the relationship between the buys and the sells are coming in, we're holding above the VWAP right there, okay? So as long as we start seeing momentum picking up, we're usually going to get that continued direction, okay? So mad love and respect, ladies and gentlemen. Please trade safely, and I will be checking in with you all later on tonight. Take care of yourselves, gang. Peace.